Welcome to this G Plus Hangout on how to get the best out of an MR event. This is in support of the upcoming Mrmw event in London. We've got some great guests here today, so I'd like to thank everybody for joining us.
My name is Ilka Kuhagen. I live in Munich, and I've been to the very first Merlin conference in Berlin, which was Jasper 3 years ago. I think it was the Qual 360 in Berlin, and I was excited that someone was taking on the challenge to run a Qual conference on online research in Germany. So that's why I joined.
Hi, I'm actually the CEO of Mrmw Institute. We are basically an events and a publishing company, most well known for the flagship Mrmw Global Conference Series, which are held annually in Europe, North America, and in Asia.
I'm Akash Bhasin. I work with a company which is called Market Excel, based out of India, and I have been attending these conferences for over 5 years now. My first conference was also in Berlin, and that was the online research conference from ESOMAR. So,
I'm Jack Ramsey's sidekick. I'm going to be. What I'd ask anyone that's watching this is to use the Mrmw hashtag on Twitter if you've got any questions, or I'll be monitoring the Google event comments. So if you want to ask something, I'll let people on the Hangout know.
David Zachariah. I currently live in Los Angeles. I'm CEO of a company called Glassic, and we have multiple Google Glass projects that we're working on, both as a contract for Google itself and on our own. And our latest project is a different approach to doing market research. That by using Google Glass, it allows us to get a whole different a view on what market research itself is, and we've seen that the type of data that we get from doing these tests is a lot more on par with what the consumer was actually thinking than the current methods of research. I don't want to give too much away, but make sure to catch my session at Mrmw.
So, as a start to the discussion, I'd quite like to get into the mind of someone who hasn't been to an Mrmw event. Do you remember your first MR event? What do you remember of it?
Absolutely. I remember that as I said, I was excited it was in Germany. I went to Berlin, and it was an international conference with guests from all around the world, and the most exciting to me was the combination of academics and the practitioners on the other side. And that was the first time ever that we had this mixture in a way. Well, it was not an anonymous large room with thousands of people attending, but it was maybe 60 people or 80. And we really discussed over 2 days and exchanged our thoughts with each other, and I thought this was really great and unique.
Would you have any kind of recommendations or tips for these kind of attendees? It's not an overwhelming experience for them.
That's a good question. I think the best thing is just go, and if you got some contact, one of your friends, one of your colleagues who you know, so you're not alone. It's a great help. Yeah, just find out who else is going, or get a friend to come along and do it together. People are open, and you will meet a lot of interesting people. I would, from my point of view, I think wherever you go and you meet a lot of Qual researchers, they are all open-minded, they are all ready to talk to others, to listen to others, and to engage into an interesting conversation. And that's what happens. You've got all these fun, interesting people around there.
Anybody else who'd like to answer if they've got any tips or recommendations for these first-time attendees?
The attendees come from this side of the world, because as I can see, everyone is either from the States or from Europe. So if you come from the Asia portion and you are not from, Japan or Australia, you get to know many technologies which are being used in terms of, respondent engagement, how to, salvage responses, and, what new technologies are coming in terms of, research methodologies. So it's definitely a huge learning when you kind of first time come in and you see these brilliant papers and and presentations. So it definitely helps in coming back home and seeing what you can do, vis-a-vis what the world is doing. So it's a pretty exciting experience.